Hi everyone, my name is Eric Schurter and I'm the product manager for the editor group, which is part of the Create stage of the DevOps lifecycle here at GitLab, and I'm here today to talk to you about what we have planned for the 13.9 milestone. And I'll link to our planning issue in the video description here, where you can see our high-level themes for each of our group's categories, as well as get links to our release board, which has all the issues that we're going to be working on in this milestone. I did want to highlight just a few real quick, and I'll start with the Web IDE. I want to build on something I think I talked about in the last kickoff, which was in 13.8 we completed a proof of concept for using editor light, which is an abstraction, a thin layer around the Monaco code editor that we use for Web IDE. And we want to replace the standard implementation of Monaco that we use on the Web IDE with this editor light library, which is what we use to power the snippets editor and in a couple other places throughout GitLab. This is an effort that we hope will bring sort of consolidation and consistency to the editing experience across GitLab. And in the process of implementing the proof of concept, we also found that there's somewhere between a 15 and 20% performance increase in some scenarios as well. So we're gaining some benefits there. So in 13.9, we'll go ahead and move forward with that proof of concept and implement that in the Web IDE. You won't see much difference other than that performance increase that I mentioned, but in the back end, we'll be using a lot of code that doesn't need to be duplicated elsewhere. This is a issue that I marked as stretch, so we may not ship this in 13.9, but we're hoping to. But I did want to highlight something related to the Web IDE that came up, and that is that we had an issue in 13.8 where we wanted to change the behavior of the single file editor. So it was consistent with the Web IDE, specifically when it comes to how it handles trailing new line characters in the files themselves. The single file editor does not add a trailing new line character, nor does it strip the character if it exists. It kind of just leaves the file as is. The Web IDE does add the new line character, and you can override that behavior by creating an editor config file and storing that in your repository. Since the single file editor doesn't respect that editor config file, we wouldn't want to change the default behavior, or you might get into a situation where you are unable to remove a new line character if that's actually what you wanted. So our solution, instead of changing the behavior of one or the other, was to build in an extension to Editor Lite, which I just got through explaining. It will now be a shared editing experience across snippets, Web IDE, and single file editor to pull information from the editor config file and give you a consistent customized editing experience across all those categories. So we're really excited about this, and that's one of the benefits that's going to play out over the long term of having a single editing component for source code. Moving on to navigation and settings work. Right into that, there's an issue that we just validated with some research that we saw some improvements in clarity and efficiency when it came to interacting with the user menu. So that's the menu in the top right here when you click on your little avatar. There's a few places that look like links that aren't links. There's a few things that could be named differently. Fairly small changes, but fairly dramatic improvements in navigating around your user profile. So we'll be picking that up in 13.9. And you can see the proposed changes here, where your name and your handle are linking to your profile page, and we've clarified the links for setting your status, editing your profile, and preferences here. When it comes to settings, GitLab has quite a few, and one of the improvements that we were hoping to make was something we were researching in 13.8, and we have a proof of concept actually live on gitlab.com here, and so I can just demo it. We wanted to add searchable settings to individual settings views. So right now it's only implemented on the project general view. But you can see how it works here. So if I'm looking for merge request, you can see it starts to filter in and highlights any applicable results. This is really helpful for really long settings pages that might have a bunch of these collapsed sections, and maybe you don't remember where to get to, like changing this path, for example. So if I just type in path, I'll be able to highlight it. So this pattern we think is going to make navigating the settings within GitLab a lot more efficient. So we're going to go ahead and apply it to all the settings pages. It is worth noting that this is searching within a single page, and we'll be iterating on an approach that could search across multiple settings pages and sort of globally search settings values. But for now, they're scoped to the page that they're on. So we have an epic, actually 3 epics, for the admin settings, group and project settings, and user settings. Each one of those has individual issues for the views that we want to implement the search across. They're all very straightforward. We hope to get as many of these done as possible in 13.9 and turn on that feature flag so everybody can start using the search bar in their settings experience. And last, this won't ship in 13.9, but likely some work that we'll be doing in 13.10 that I wanted to highlight. As I mentioned, we completed some validation, some research that related to settings and navigation. And the outcome of that was that we validated that an approach for a consolidated top navigation experience is something that we want to move forward with. So we'll be cleaning up this proposal and working on issues in 13.9 to flesh out the direction and come up with an iteration plan. But effectively what we're looking at here is a single navigation item on the top nav that combines your projects, groups, and then what we have in the More menu is brought into that as well. And the behavior is very similar, but it's all under one place, and it makes it a lot easier to navigate between projects and groups. It brings visibility to these instance level features like operations and security, and it sets us up for a much more flexible future as we add more features and functionality to this menu. So looking forward to that. I'll talk more about that in the 13.10 kickoff, but that is something we're very excited about. And with that, we are going to wrap this kickoff video, but please feel free to visit the planning issue, look at the individual issues that we have on the release board, comment, give me feedback, ask questions, and I'll see you all next month for the 13.10 kickoff. Thanks.